Youths are clear on their objectives. They want to reclaim ownership of the country, ownership of the nation. Youths are demanding that national leadership must be accountable. Today, there are a lot of questions going about in terms of the march to State House, which has provoked speculation, which has provoked abnormal thinking, normal thinking, and unrealistic thinking. We are saying it is inevitable for the nation to shut down. Inevitable in the sense that everyone is suffering. There is not even room for people to be allowed to do anything progressive. We commend citizens to heed the call to challenge the unreasonableness of the government. We have heard stories that myself and others are planning an uprising against the government. A statement which is not true, which is false. But surely myself and others are planning to come up with demonstrations that will do a number of things. Number one, to push our leadership to be accountable. Number two, to allow citizens to speak and to allow citizens to confront the government. Number three, all issues concerning citizens must be expressed in any form that they deem necessary. And demonstrations, petitions are one of those. I'm quite happy today that the government has picked on me as an individual who is planning uprising against the government. A point that I will totally deny, but I will vehemently put it clear that I am a citizen of Zimbabwe. I am a Zimbabwean national. I have every right to pursue the agenda to free myself and to free others behind me who cannot speak. For tomorrow, there are rumors that myself, Ivan, and Promise are planning a massive march to State House. And we are on the wanted list by police for the same cause. That is not true. I am encouraging all Zimbabweans not to attend tomorrow's event at Africa Unity Square, not to associate themselves with the march from Africa Unity Square to State House. Our mission is to do everything peaceful, because we are advocating for peaceful demonstrations and peaceful marches. Going to State House is treasonous, and we are not going to participate in treasonous activities. Having said that, we need to highlight critical points that the government and its leadership must not forget that in early 60s, around 63, 64, they stood up against oppression and repression because they had suffered enough in the hands of the white colonial rule. Today, Zvorwadza and the others have stood up against oppression, repression, suppression, and the worst form of human rights abuse, which is poverty. We are standing up against that, and we want that corrected. We are also advocating for the government to respect human rights. We have seen and heard that people in Epworth were fed to Zimbabwean Republic Police dogs. At this point, I am calling upon all Zimbabweans to unite and confront the government in peaceful activities, in peaceful demonstrations and peaceful marches. Anyone who is seen to use violence on these activities is not part of our agenda. Our agenda is to free Zimbabweans from this ruthless team, from this grouping of leadership which purported to have fought for us and then decided to ride on us. Thank you very much.
But the calls, were they not coming from within your spheres?
I am clearly stating that this march is not our agenda, it is not our idea. This march, we are detaching and refusing that we are not part of the agenda, but other individuals who are bent on tainting our image, on violent activities, have come up with this plan, and we are not part of it. And I am sure Ivan, wherever he is, Promise, wherever he is, will be able to articulate in other words that the march to State House is not our agenda. Our agenda would be the march from Africa Unit Square to somewhere else, but telling State House. Are you getting me? We will tell State House our needs, but we will not march to State House. Because we can tell State House, here sitting, here standing. But what we are saying, the idea of having people to march from Africa Unit Square to State House, it's machinations of enemies who are bent to tarnish our names on banditry, inciting violence, something which is not part of us. But we stand clear that pushing for the agenda to have this cruel leadership come to terms and realize that they've failed people. We are going ahead and we are doing it, and I am part of it. I don't deny. I've been arrested this morning and put through to an officer in charge at Harare Magistrates Courts. And fortunately, Obey Shawa, who is my lawyer representing me on this issue of the wanted list by the police, he came to my rescue and convinced the officer in charge there that they had no right whatsoever to detain me until they've come up with a charge. So fortunately, the officer in charge briefly released me for further questioning, and I ran away briefly. Not to say that I am not going to the police. I just ran away because I wanted to address this press briefing. But after this press briefing, I am going straight with my lawyer to law and order. At the worst, they are going to detain me and come up with a charge. The best, they are going to let me go, and possibly you will meet me on the street demonstrating against this unjust rule of this nation. Because we are all on the wanted list, we have decided not to converge and discuss from one point, because we'll probably be picked at once. And if leadership is picked at once, then there is challenge. Because you don't want to leave the train moving without a driver, or a plane flying without a pilot. That is not very useful. We are saying it's success. It only means that people have the power to decide what they want through activities such as protests. While we do not condone and encourage violence. Some people become extreme and surely force the government to think properly. We are saying today it is a big success because Statutory Instrument 64 did not just provoke Zimbabweans, it provoked even South Africans, because we are in a trade partnership, and cutting off things from their normal trading business, it affects them. And I can assure you and tell you now that the demonstrations which took place in Bedbridge and other series of demonstrations that are going to come, South Africans are also participating because they are also getting affected. But we are saying, let us allow Zimbabweans to speak, pushing the government to think that there is a third force. The third force are citizens. And this is what they are doing. We are applaud and we are happy for the achievement. They are surely going to increase the list. Whatever they've put in place at one point, because the pressure is still coming. If they arrest me 2-3 days, my lawyers fight for bail. If I'm allowed to work from outside, we are still going to push, a number of issues. One of which is the issue with the funds of people in banks. I need to highlight, just in case I get imprisonment for longer in remand. Banks will not sustain cash payments to Zimbabweans in the coming 6 months. So banks are going to dry. If banks dry, what next? Chaos. This information we are speaking on record, and we want the government to know that whatever they are trying to do, they are picking on single individuals, but the nation at large has issues with the government. They will pick me today and incarcerate me. But 10,000 people who want their money and the banks are failing to pay them will stand up and rise up and demand their money. It is also another problem. It is just reasonable for the government to come and dialogue with citizens and declare and accept that they have failed. If they accept, then a roadmap to the future of Zimbabwe is then created.
But from their body language and maybe their speeches, do you see them as serious?
They are a defiant leadership. They have been corrupted by corruption. They have been corrupted by power. But what they forgot to realize, it is that because citizens are teaching themselves on civic issues, which translate to political issues, many people are rising up. They haven't seen it yet. The war in Zimbabwe was fought by nearly less than 10,000 people, and the war was won. But today's war is going to be fought by more than 3 million people, and surely they will win. The dictatorship will go. Zimbabweans and youths will claim the ownership of the country. As I sit here, I'm old. I will not sustain running or participating in governance for a further 10 years because my time is past. I probably have 3 more good years to do what I am doing. After that, my usefulness goes. Another person should replace me. This is the ideology of civilized thinking.
You are distancing yourself from the message that is doing the rounds around the march towards the State House. Do you have any suspicion as to who is behind that message?
I am sure to comment on something that did not come from our hands or from our strategy, from our agenda, will be misguided. We will not even look for the person who put up that message. If that program was very useful to us, we were going to look for the person and partner him or her or them. But in this case, we are distancing, and I can assure you, no one will gather at Africa Unity Square. No one. Because at the moment, citizens are deciding. We are deciding when and what to do. we declared that next Wednesday we might come up with something else. But for tomorrow,